For almost half a century, there has been one undisputed king of the road in America. And nope, it's not a car, it's not an SUV, it's a pickup truck, the Ford F-Series. So how on earth did a simple work truck become one of the most powerful and enduring icons in American history? Think about this for a second. For 47 consecutive years, the F-Series has been America's best-selling vehicle. That isn't just a record, it's an absolute dynasty. And just like any great dynasty, its story is full of twists, turns, and some serious paradoxes. You know, the history of this truck is just wild. It's packed with contradictions. In fact, its journey to the top didn't kick off with some big win. It actually started with a spectacular failure. Okay, get this. Two things that might blow your mind. First, this whole automotive empire was literally built from the ashes of Henry Ford's first company, which went bankrupt. And second, that legendary name, the F-150, yeah, it didn't even exist for the first 30 years of the truck's life. So, to really understand the F-Series, we have to go back. I mean, way back, before the F was even a thing. We need to see how the whole idea of a simple, tough-as-nails workhorse was forged in the fires of failure and, ultimately, war. You can really see the learning curve here. Ford's first shot was a bust, too complex, but he learned. You go from the basic Model T chassis to the stronger Model TT, and then, bam, the game-changing flathead V8. Each step was a lesson, but the biggest lesson came from World War II. Building tanks, bombers, all that stuff for the war effort, it hammered home one core philosophy. Make it simple, make it tough, and make it work. Period. So, the war ends, and America has a huge job ahead of it, rebuilding. And what do you need to rebuild a country? You need tools. So in 1948, Ford delivered something brand new, a purpose-built truck for the American worker. And this was the revolutionary idea. See, before 1948, most trucks were basically just cars with a bed slapped on the back. The first F-Series, Ford called them bonus-built trucks, they changed the whole game. This thing was designed from the ground up, on its own dedicated platform, to be a truck and nothing else. This first generation really set the blueprint. It had a seriously tough, independent frame. It came in 8 different sizes, you know, from the little F1 for the farmer, all the way up to the massive F8 for heavy industry. And here's the kicker. It was the only pickup you could get with a V8 engine until 1954. That gave it a huge advantage right out of the gate. And they didn't just sit back and relax. Ford was always tinkering, always improving. In '53, the F1 gets a name change to the much cooler-sounding F100. A year later, a more powerful modern V8 takes over. Then you get a 12-volt electrical system for better reliability. And by 1959, you could order factory-installed four-wheel drive. They were constantly sharpening the tool. But you know, maybe the truck's most important evolution wasn't dreamed up by an engineer in a lab. It was actually born out of a massive crisis. We're talking about the 1970s. Oil shortages, new government rules. It was a perfect storm that threatened to kill the powerful American truck. Okay, this is where Ford played chess while everybody else was playing checkers. So the government passes these strict emissions laws, right? And it forced all the other companies to make their engines weaker. Ford's solution? In 1975, they roll out a brand new model, the F-150. And they cleverly built it to be just heavy enough, over 6,000 pounds, to land in a weight class that dodged those strict new rules. It was a genius move that let them keep their big, powerful V8s. And the result of that move? It was immediate. It was decisive. Just 2 years later, in 1977, the Ford F-Series became the best-selling truck line in America, and it has never, ever given up that title since. So now Ford is on top of the world, and the F-Series starts this amazing new transformation. It stops being just a tool for the job site and starts becoming something else. A comfortable, safe truck you could actually drive every single day. The 80s and 90s were really all about modernizing the truck. You get these softer, more aerodynamic designs to help with fuel economy. They introduce a V6 for the first time for folks who didn't need a V8. Electronic fuel injection becomes standard, making them way more reliable. And safety suddenly becomes a huge focus. Standard ABS brakes, and then by 1994, a driver's side airbag. And as the F-150 went totally mainstream, Ford's performance guys started to have some real fun with it, creating these two legendary trucks that were complete opposites. First, you get the SVT Lightning, a lowered, street racing beast, basically the original sport truck.
Then, almost 20 years later, the SVT Raptor comes along, a lifted, super-wide desert racer built to fly over bumps at 100 miles an hour. It just goes to show you how versatile that F-150 platform really is.
Look, you don't stay number one for this long by playing it safe. Not a chance. And as we moved into the 21st century, Ford took two of the biggest, riskiest gambles in the history of the auto industry to keep the F-Series on top. The first huge bet came in 2011. Ford decided to challenge the one thing that was sacred, the V8 engine. They introduced the 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6. It was a smaller twin-turbo engine that totally broke the old no replacement for displacement rule. I mean, here was an engine that gave you V8 power and towing, but with V6 fuel economy. It was a massive deal. But honestly, that was just the warm-up act. 4 years later, facing another round of tough efficiency rules, Ford made a move that was so crazy, so risky, that the entire industry just stopped and stared. Yup. Aluminum. They decided to build the body of their best-selling truck, the absolute symbol of American toughness, almost completely out of aluminum alloy. Everybody was freaking out. Could an aluminum truck really be built Ford tough?
Well, the payoff was just staggering. That single change shaved up to 700 pounds off the truck. 700 pounds. That meant it could haul more, tow more, and do it all using less gas. The gamble worked, big time.
And that brings us to today, and the latest reinvention, going electric. In 2022, the F-150 Lightning hit the scene. There's no V8 roar, just silent, instant power. And get this, it's a work truck that can literally power your entire house if the grid goes down. This is, without a doubt, the next huge chapter in the story. So when you look back at this whole incredible history, one single idea stands out above everything else. Work comes first. From rebuilding the country after the war, to navigating the crisis in the 70s, all the way to today's push for efficiency and electricity, the F-Series has always won because it adapts to do the job America needs done. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question for the future, doesn't it? For decades, the sound of American work was that V8 roar. Now, that sound is fading away. So as these trucks go silent and electric, can they still capture the soul of American work? I guess that's the challenge for the next 47 years.